Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum dear students. My name is mohsinahmedsiddiquei and I am from Army Public School and College Faisal, Karachi. I am going to teach you computer for class 7. The book we will be following eSkills Learner Level 7, and today we are going to learn Module 1 Collecting Information, and the topic is Task 3 Keys and Relationships. Today our objective is realize that the primary key identifies each record in a database table. Keys and relationships. When working with databases, we always want things that are unique in real life to also be represented uniquely in our database. For example, we know that each person is unique. Even when two people have the same name, they are still two different peoples. So, in a database with information about people, for example, our friends, we want each record to describe a unique person. Keys are very important part of relational database model. They are very used to establish and identify relationships between tables and also to uniquely identify any record or row of data inside a table. Take a look at the database below. Here, two roommates happen to have the same name. How do we understand that they are two different people? Because both names are same. Of course, we look at their other detail to tell them apart. Now take a look at the database below. What's going on here? When you see two identical records like these in a database, you may think that there is some kind of mistake and record got duplicated. But how can you be sure? For all you know, these two records could be for two different people, two roommates who happen to have the same name. Like you can see, Tom and Tom. So now that we have been how important it is to be able to have unique records in our databases, let's see how we can fix it so we don't come across any confusing records like the roommates in the previous example. Take a look for a smart tip. When choosing a primary key, it is smart to always choose the smallest set of fields that can uniquely identify our record. We don't want to use extra field if we don't have to. Primary key. To distinguish between records in a database table so that every record is unique and uniquely identified, we use what is known in database the lingo as the primary key. Primary key is one or more fields that can uniquely identify each record in our database table. For example, if we know that there can't be two people with the same email in our friends database, then we can use the field email address as the primary key. Similarly, if we are absolutely certain that the combination of name and email address is unique for our friend, then the field name and email address can be primary key. The choice of the primary key depends on the data and the various restrictions we know to be true. Later on we will see how the primary key is used. These are the primary keys and you can use as a student ID as well. ID field. As you saw the roommates example at the beginning of the task, there are times when you can find a good primary key even if you include all fields. Sometimes you must include so many fields in your primary key for it get too big and you end up wasting lots of space. So what do you in such cases? Well, if you can't find a primary key from your existing field, you can create a new field. For this purpose, we usually refer to that new field as the ID field. ID comes from the word identify, a very fitting name since this field identifies each record. Now you can see the student ID. The ID field can contain any data we want, but it must be unique for each record. The most common practice ID to use incremental numbers. Okay, let's sum up. You can choose a field from a table and call it the primary key. Sometimes you can create a new field called ID and use that a primary key instead. But why do we get into all this trouble? A table relationship works by matching data in any field, often a field with the same name in both tables. In most cases, this matching field are the primary key from one table, which provides a unique identifier for each record and foreign key in other table. Well, the primary key is actually very useful when you want to relate two of your table. For example, let's say that your database consists of two tables. One table has information about the students of a school and other has information about the books in the school library. For example, imagine you want to create a third table with information about students who have borrowed books from the school library. To relate student with a book, we simply need to use their respective primary keys and copy them to a new table, along with any information that might be relevant. As in the example from the table above, we can see example that Stella borrowed a Little Prince on 4/23/2012 and returned it on 4/29/2012. Smart tip. The solution of the ID field is so simple and elegant that is very common to use it even when you can actually choose primary key from the existing field, because it is always only one numerical field. Also, most real database work faster with number than with text. So students, let's discuss about the table relationship types. First is one-to-one relationship. In a one-to-one relationship, one record in a table is associated with one and only one record in another table. For example, in a school database, each student has only one student ID as you have, and each student ID is assigned to only one person. You can see in the picture the two database tables which is connected one-to-one relationship. In this example, the key field in each table, student ID, is designed to contain unique values. In the student table, the student ID field is the primary key. In the contact information table, the student field is a foreign key. So student, this type of relationship is rarely used in real life databases. However, it can be used in certain cases to improve a process. For example, if we know that we are often going to search for a student name but rarely for their other information, it makes sense to separate the data into two tables to make the search for names or small. So here is another example of table relationship, which is one-to-many. The students, in a one-to-many relationship, one record in a table can be associated with one or more records in another table. For example, each customer can have many sales orders. So this allows frequently used information to be saved only, since used information to be saved only once in a table and referenced by many times in all other tables. So here is some examples of one-to-many relationship can be. Number one is, you can see a mother with her children. A child have only one biological mother. But mother will have 0, 1 or many children. Let's see another example of one-to-many relationship. A car and its parts. Students, car has many parts, as you know. Each part can belong to one car. See, this all parts belong to one car, and a car has many parts. Here is our third example. House on a street. A street will have 0, 1 or many houses, but each house will be on one street. Lastly, there is also the many-to-many relationship example. And first of all, we have to understand that what is many-to-many relationship. So a many-to-many relationship occurs when multiple records in a table are associated with multiple records in another table. For example, a many-to-many relationship exists between a customer and product. Customer can purchase various products and products can be purchased by many customers. So this kind of relationship must use an extra table to map the relation between the other table. So that is all from my side. I hope so you understand this. Task is, what do you mean by primary key? Explain by giving examples. Number 2, what is ID field and where we can use it? Number 3, what is table relationships? Explain its all types with diagram. One-to-one relationship, one-to-many relationship, many-to-many relationship. Find out best answers of these questions. Try to write in your own words and note it down in your notebook. Use your book as a guidance. If you found any difficulty, use internet. Solve your worksheet and hand on of given tasks. Students, if you find any query during to solving this, so you can visit my Facebook page and visit YouTube channel, and this is especially made for you. Last and but not the least, stay safe and stay home and listen to your parents. Thank you. Allah Hafiz.